Go. Hi guys, welcome to the second part of the call today. And without further ado, let's get started.
Should I share the screen or?
Yeah, I think so. I think the question, the underlying question is, do you want to work with us also on this MVP, where we go with the lowest level of divisibility, granularity resources? Because if so, then that would be really cool, and we could later on build the study plan collaboration together.
Yeah, I think the ideal case is that we're building the same thing, and we are kind of building, I guess, either two front ends for the same sort of knowledge graph database thing.
Right. Yeah. Or we build even one front end. Yeah. I also like the fact of sharing the database as much of it.
I agree.
Oh yeah, and yeah, thanks for bringing that up. What do you guys think about the wireframes? Is it good? And
They're
then
actually really nice. I really like them.
so yeah, maybe just a comment or two. I did add another tab that was not originally in the specification. That's the second one, called resources. But wait, currently we're on review. So yeah, you can see that you enter the learning dependencies, in particular the strength, the topic, and the level. So we also should allow entering, like, instead of a level, we should also allow entering like up to a certain topic, but the
One of the big issues I see with the screen is like how big it is. Like strength, okay, I can maybe make sense of it, but level, what's level?
Yeah, definitely. So you're right. The wireframes need a little bit more work. I think it's about 85% done. But yeah, if I were to look at it again, I would add also explanation for the strength and the level.
Okay, but what is level then?
So level is what's the recommended level for that strength, for the learning dependency. So the reason we want to have level is, apart from all the other reasons, it also allows us to encode sort of difficulty of the resource. So if a resource is on algorithms and it has a learning dependency of algorithms, then depending on its level, we find out how much of a introductory or intermediate or advanced the resource is. And so level, the notion of level, so we haven't really talked about it yet. Here, can I share my screen? Because I think I can explain it. Okay, perfect. So where were we? Level. So the way we're thinking about the level is, I think it was maybe over here. Or was it over here? Okay, maybe then it was over here. Oh, perfect. So yeah, perfect. So nodes of the knowledge tree are leaves, right? If they're like non-divisible, and only leaves have a level of a notion of level or depth. They're synonyms. So level one is where the average person learning it in the time that we wrote the specification can learn it in 15 to 30 minutes. So that usually means, a statement of the concept or theorem, and let's say a proof or one quick example. So in other words, for example, for maths, every single theorem would be its own level, or every single definition, like the GCD or LCM. Level 2 is where you require another hour or hour and a half to get to that level of understanding, and level 3 is another 5 hours. And topics should not go further than level 3, because if they do, it's indication that they should be divided. So leaves have this notion of, level, and then level essentially bubbles up. So if you have, by the way, this, I have wanted to change this for a while, so now's a good opportunity. Perfect. This should be.
What about this?
So if you have like, let's say, number theory, and you understand GCD, LCM, and Euler's theorem all at level 1, then you have a level of number theory at 3, right? So yeah, levels are this concept of depth of understanding of a topic.
Okay, what about this? I sent the link in Slack. What level would that be? I'm curious.
So also the way we're planning it, at least in the MVP, is resources don't have a level. Instead, they have learning dependencies, which have levels. And then in the future, once we add something like length and quality, like a rating, then you could essentially calculate like how well the resource. Like I'll give you a simple example. Let's say there's a dependency of the resource at level 20. And the resource takes 5 hours, and it's a really good resource. Well, maybe that gets you to a level of 30, right? Well, if the resource took twice as long, maybe that will get you to a level of 40, or if it was twice as good, maybe it would get you to a level of 40 as well. So that's sort of the idea, is that we can use the dependency plus the length times quality as a proxy, but that's further down the line. That's not what we're doing in the MVP, since we're not enabling search. But yeah, this particular resource, the Deep Learning textbook, is a resource intended to help students and practitioners enter the field of ML in general and deep learning in particular. So this sounds like, since it's an entry-level resource, it's very likely not going to have any dependencies on machine learning, just because it's machine learning 101.
Well, you would be surprised, but
and it might have dependencies, of course, on math, discrete mathematics, or on programming, right? Or I should say, computer science.
But yeah, I guess before I didn't actually know, because I thought you apply levels to resources as well. Because what my point was that you won't complete this book in 5 hours.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Because I thought that you apply levels to resources as well, but apparently not.
Right.
This book you won't complete in 5 hours.
Right.
So then what do you apply levels to then?
So levels are in the MVP only for the learning dependencies. And then in the future, the idea is that you can get credentials for, or at least I should say in the next version, self-attest to certain.
You apply levels to so basically you apply levels to topics. Yeah.
In the future, you'll be able to self-attest to certain levels for any topic.
But you reckon that if you say that if it's more than 5 hours or something, that it's not a topic or something?
Yeah. So if it's more than 5 hours, it's not a leaf. It should be split up into sub-leaves. You know what I'm saying? Like if a topic requires more than like what is this? Some of this like 6 or 7 hours, then it should get split up into its subtopics.
Okay.
You want to have a very granular knowledge tree. So then you could ask, what do we have currently regarding the knowledge tree? And that's a great question. So let me show you the answer. One thing that I'm going to be working on it's like in my pipeline, and it's going to be done before we release, but is to actually create sort of a draft knowledge tree for everything. It shouldn't take that long. But what we have currently is computer science, which needs a little bit more work. I already have some ideas on how to how to change it. For example, security I think that we can split it up into its corresponding, like formularification has to do with semantics of programming languages. Applied computing can be split up into all of these as first order topics because it's kind of an umbrella term, just as information systems is. So databases should be a first order term. So that's our current computer science tree. Our current math tree. One sec, there's some music playing. Our math tree is done very differently. So that one we actually started with what's called the mathematics subject classification system, which is used for academia. But then my friend and great mathematician Donda, excuse me, also Ansung Le, was able to sort of transform it into something that we could use. Again, I think it needs a little bit more work, but it's really, really comprehensive. When I say it needs a little bit more work, that could be both on the things we have at the moment, the nodes we have at the moment, but most importantly,
this structure you're making yourself, do you want to expose it to your users and have users create that structure?
Yeah, one sec. I'll just finish my thought. And then, like, most importantly, it needs a little bit more work on the granularity. So it can get much more granular, but that's what we have at the moment. So I'll give you an example. Let's say there's something like number theory, right? So elementary number theory, there could be another 10 concepts or theorems under that. Well, at the moment, it's not that divisible. And you commented, are we planning to allow users to change this? Yes. So we're gonna come up with a draft, something like this, and we're going to allow changes to it through pull requests, through GitHub. That's currently the plan. We don't need a UI for this because we want this to be not as changing as the resource tree, of course. The resource tree is the variable part of the application. This is sort of the much more stable part of the application.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool. Were there any other things that you guys were interested in? And so the strengths, the dependencies have strengths, and essentially the way we think of them is strength 5 is required, strength 4 is strongly recommended, strength 3 is recommended, strength 2 is it would be great if you know that, and strength 1 is it will be cool if you know that. Maybe they're not the best sort of phrases, but until we have something better, that's what we have. So actually, now that I think about it, yeah, the idea was initially to have them be purely human, natural language based rather than number based. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to the wireframes and think about whether the strengths over here, because it's much more easier to enter something that is natural language, such as strongly recommended, than enter something where you have to actually look up the definition in another window. So I think that can easily be changed by these drop downs not being 0 to 5, but being one of these phrases, whatever we decide.
Yeah, I think that's much better.
So yeah, that's the wireframe. So essentially the idea was it would start over here. This would be route, slash, and it would just give you an idea of what we're building towards, and also sort of motivate you to submit these metadata. I'm also thinking of adding a button here that says copy to clipboard, and the reason is because over here it says my address is amos.ms, introduce me to your friends. So then you could very, very easily send this to anyone to build the community. And we have the first tab, which allows you to create reviews. We have the second tab, which again was added only yesterday, and it's essentially just a way to traverse the resource tree to find inconsistencies, or even I guess people can use it to find resources, but that's not the intended use. In that case, we could even add a topic tree, or most importantly, search. And we have proposals, which are essentially just proposals to change the resource tree. So there's 4 operations that you can do: to merge 2 resources, to connect 2 resources in a parent-child relationship, to disconnect 2 resources, and to delete a resource. In the original specification that we have open up right here, there were a few more. A few more operations that that we listed, and the reason they're not here is actually, if you want to create a parent or child or connecting node, you can do that straight away in the review section. Yeah, so you can be adding resources as either child resource, which is sort of the default, or as a parent resource, as a connecting resource, or even as a first class resource. And then there would be a...
Well, I'm actually kind of confused. So
yeah, tell me.
Well, for the first, what's a first class resource? Like, I'm actually confused by all 4 options. What is
Okay, perfect. So think of it like a tree, right? So you can either be adding a resource as
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
As a descendant, a child, an ancestor, a parent.
Okay, so here's my main issue here is that you want Solvia, or you want this tool to be used by like a child as well. Like, I don't understand how a child will understand.
No. I don't think. I think that, okay. So think of Wikipedia, right? So it's actually turns out it's not that easy to edit it from the UI side. Like, they have this custom format for actually writing the articles, which is like crazy. And they even had a proposition, and funnily enough, not just proposition, but they even built the code to make it what you see is what you get, to make it very user friendly. And in the end, you know what they did with the code? They actually threw it in the trash. Why did they do that? Well, we could speculate, but one of the reasons that was put forward was it actually attracted lower level of talent than the people who were maintaining the database long term. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, there is also an aim to make it as simple as possible, but at the same time, not simpler. We don't want to sacrifice on sort of the functionality, or even better put, the structure.
Sure, that makes sense.
Of our app, right? So I think it's a good idea to keep the resources as a tree rather than in a list data structure. But yeah, we could talk about that. So that's proposals. And then, yeah, last of all, we have notifications, and you can get a reputation either by voting on proposals that turn out in your favor. So proposals are always limited by time.
For this, do you have a design system in mind that you're going to be using, like Ant Design or something, or are you going to be creating components from scratch?
What's Ad Design? I haven't heard of it. How do I look it up?
Ant Design.
Ant Design, like that?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I think I even...
So there are different design systems, and basically what they provide you is just a bunch of ready-made components that you can sort of plug and play with, so you don't have to design things from scratch.
So kind of like Bootstrap. But it's only for React. Got it. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, we haven't thought about the individual components yet. The wireframes are literally just the layout.
Okay, sure. Because that's something that definitely to take into account, because a design system simplifies things a lot, so you don't have to because it gives you a coherent look for all the components.
Definitely. For the prototype Amos lookup that I built, it was an immaterial UI, but there's, I guess, a lot of other design frameworks that we can think about.
Okay.
And that's it. So that's sort of the goal of these wireframes was to have like a sustainable functionality of the app, while at the same time being able to build it in a few weeks or months. And I honestly think that's possible. It's like 5 screens and like maybe 20 or 30 components. And then there were a few comments. For some reason, they got deleted. So I don't know what my issues when I was creating it were, but one got left. It's 'cause I forked this for some reason. So yeah, tip when you're using Whimsical, if you fork something, you lose out comments. But one comment when I was making this was whether the data should be pre-filled when you're submitting a resource. So here I'm sort of assuming that it's not, and that's we could talk about that.
Another thing that I don't know if you covered is what if you submit a resource that has already been submitted?
Yeah, that's exactly the proposal. So if you submit something that's already been, so here's the thing. We sort of what's the right way to put it? We define resources by their URL.
And then so I think what would be nice is that to do validation on the URL field, and if as soon as the URL field gets filled, check it with the database if that URL is in the database, and maybe pre-fill other, and then instantly pre-fill all the metadata for the form, and maybe ask a user, oh, well, this link has been already submitted, but perhaps you want to modify its metadata. And
yeah, so I mean, that's a great point. So when you're reviewing, it's not necessarily the first review of the resource.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, like how you can actually iron out.
So you add a link, and either and then once you submit, once you hit finish, if the link does not exist in the database, then it will be added, and if it does, then it will be added to the regular. And then that leads to the question, which is, should the metadata come in pre-filled? And I'm sort of the way I'm thinking is the whole thing has a game theoretical nature to it, in that you want to be voting for the options that get a lot of confirmations in the future. So it's sort of like this Bitcoin model where you get either confirmations, but here you can also get rejections, such as over here. And so if it were to come in pre-filled, then you could sort of just pick the ones that are the most popular ones and assume that they're going to be popular in the future as well. I guess technically you could still look up which one is the most popular by looking at the status of the shelling games at the moment. But it's just I think easier also, in fact, for the user, that it's an empty form every single time. But then to really answer the question, what if there are two resources, let's say, that have different URLs, but actually they represent the same resource? And in that case, you use the merge operation of the four operations, and you create a new proposal. So there's an example right over here. So somebody created a proposal that consists of three operations in particular to merge the two resources that just differ by, they're just different resources, but actually they represent the same thing, as well as to link something in the tree, as well as to delete a resource. And you can vote yes or no, and it will close in, let's say, 1 week, and then whichever side wins gains reputation, and whichever side loses reputation. So there's like not that many components. I think maybe about 10 that still need to be added to wireframes. Like here, I can see that I forgot the time when it closes. And then we were talking about here, this screen should be made with slight modifications.
Okay, so that sounds all good. Okay, how about what would be really cool then if we develop so that we kind of actually work on two aspects of this, as we discussed. So perhaps me and whoever else I can find will work on the collaborative study plan aspect of it, and you work on this. And then if we design it and where we develop it in a modular way, where we can then combine those two things, perhaps.
Yeah,
would that work? I think that would be the best, because then if we sort of like try and merge all those two ideas, I think there's going to be like lots of clashing and just like lost productivity.
I agree.
If we sort of go our way, so it's developing basically two front ends for a very similar thing, and then we combine those two front ends and collaborate on the data model. So the database, if we can share it as much as we can possibly can,
right?
Share it, and then I think that would be wonderful.
That sounds good. So I guess it's also up to. So yeah, I guess if anyone has any more to say about this, but then the last topic is the thing we discussed yesterday, which is the brand of the thing. So does anyone have anything regarding the wireframes or database model? Perfect. So yesterday we set up a Twitter poll, and actually I don't know about you guys, but I was very surprised about the interaction. So yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that, and I really appreciate it. And we got a lot of interaction. In particular, this was the thing. I don't know if you guys voted. I accidentally voted with my other account, and it turns out you can't cancel the vote. But yeah, I don't know how Twitter, like they force you to select something in order to view the results, and then you can't ever cancel it. So if you click through just to see the results, it's what the world is gonna see. Anyways, so at the moment, yeah, we have a very interesting one. I guess my conclusion from these results would be that they're all 25, 25, 25, which is very interesting. And I'll tell you why, even though Amos is much less, because the like all the other ones are pretty much self-explanatory, right? Solvio is just the name.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And then Amos has this character together with it. So I like, for me, I think they're all the same. And yeah, I think it doesn't matter which one we select. We can even select yeah, two of them.
I think learn anything is still the superior option, to be honest. But as far as, yeah, like I think let's just develop that for now, and we can think maybe of the naming of it.
And then there's the option of actually going with two routes, right? Like sharing a database model. But if we're gonna build two different front ends, then I guess we could either build it under the same name, or we could build it under different names. The other question that should be answered is, do we want this chatbot element? I feel like we do. I think you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it adds, like, I like the way I did the app. I wouldn't change that. But the question is, if we don't go with Amos, what should the character be? So should it be still Amos? Should it be, you know, Savio.org or learnanything.org and still have the Amos character? Or should
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Robot, or, you know, a fox like MetaMask?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't really have a definite answer, but I think we can. Yeah, I actually like animals. So some animals.
I personally not a big fan. Like, I know that the Amos character is not perfect, and the reason it's not perfect is people, like, if you know the history, it's perfect. If you don't know the history, it can be a little bit. There a question arises, like, why is this old dude? But I still think that it has value. I still think it's nice.
The reason why we chose octopus for our or like ghost looking with octopus kind of legs is because octopus has many legs, so many topics, represents many sort of branches of knowledge that you can sort of explore, and we just liked animals, and we just
I haven't thought about this, but my second option would be a robot. Think Wall-E, think stuff like that. It ties in nicely with, you know, building a future forward-looking platform, and we can add a lot of emotional value to an inanimate creature.
Well, yeah. So the reason I don't quite like the robot idea is because it is inanimate, and sure, it's smart and stuff like that. I think it's just a matter of association. Like, you can't really go wrong with any of, like, for example, we can easily choose Amos as an old guy, and that would work as well, to be honest. So I don't think it's.
So I mean, this is just us talking. What does Ani and John think about? Yeah, the title, the character, and then the persona.
I like the idea of just any character would do. The idea of animation is something that even I am excited about.
The idea of what? Oh.
So it can be ghost, it can be robot.
Okay, so you like the chatbot element that yeah. Actually, it's funny that both of us independently came up with that. I think there's something that makes it very suitable for this app.
Yeah, so I do like the robot idea, but at the same time, I also like the animals, as it's more relatable. And honestly, I find animals cuter than robots. So
I agree.
Yeah, but what animal? I don't know. Like animals is
Well, we
like
can combine. We can
over
combine.
the top for me.
We can make
Like
robots.
I like cute stuff, but for me there's a line. So for example, I'll give you an example. So this is definitely not how it will look. So I don't like this Skype slash Messenger thing of like 50% radius. So the reason it's here is literally because I had the option of of either putting no radius at all or a 50% radius. But in reality, I think something that you saw on the prototype where it's a small radius and at the same time looks professional is something in between. So same with the character. Like I like this chatbot and it creates emotional attachment, but like having it be like a cat or something, that's too much for me. But okay, I mean, we don't have to decide now. That wasn't the goal of this talk. On that note, I think we satisfied the goals of this talk. So from my side, I'll leave everything to what you guys wanted to say.
Yeah, so from my side, I'm just going to start going with the development of Learn Anything and with the study guide collaboration approach. And at any point where I touch working on a sort of a database layer, I will discuss it with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Sounds good. Can I just take into account? I mean, I guess we'll think about this branding and we'll probably decide hopefully as a team within the next few days. But can we consider this as an option that we also adopt the Learn Anything brand? So where Learn Anything and the project you're working on is Learn Anything study plan, or vice versa, where something and you guys are something else, or do you feel like you know what I'm trying to say?
Not really.
Okay.
so yeah, I think what he's trying to say is that Learn Anything will then be like a product of Solvio.
I would actually, if it was up to me, I would do it the other way around. Simply because I think Learn Anything, as we had in our previous goal, I think it carries much more weight than Solvio even.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
think.
What I'm trying to say
I would think of Solvio as some product that perhaps is something with mathematically inclined, because that's the.
So I mean, it's interesting you say that. So I have two counter arguments, just very quick. First one is like when it comes to actually okay. So I'm gonna say completely honestly, you're right. Originally, Solvio did come from the word to solve. Nevertheless, and that was mainly for engineering problems, etc. Nevertheless, because the whole idea of the whole idea of Solvio was like I had this math tutoring school, and I was like, okay, let's just structure the whole education through math camps, etc. So we're going to be solving problems. It generalized much more than that. In any case, I think it transitioned more to solving societal problems, solving education as a problem, right? That's a huge problem. And then the other thing is we're also going to be working on a logo. So the Solvio Foundation, I think that like I haven't even considered the fact of getting rid of that brand. Like we're building, for me at least, I'm going to be building products for Solvio Foundation and whether that's Amos or Learn XYZ or whatnot. But and so for the logo, which I plan to get done within the next few days. Actually, I have a call with a designer on Tuesday, so maybe I'll wait until then. Is actually sort of a sun-based logo. And why am I saying that? Because it also beautifully fits in with the first half of the word. So the first three characters in many languages, Latin-based languages, mean the sun. So Yeah, I think especially with that sun association, you will think of the word coming from the word stall much less than you will think of it coming from the word sol, i.e. sun. But anyways, I mean, this is why don't we take a few days to think about this, and we can get back. Like one thing that I want to do is at least try to contact GoDaddy and see if we can bring the price down significantly, whether it's by 66% or by 100%. For the expensive domain, given that we are a nonprofit project and that they might be interested in doing this as a sign of gratitude. But
Which
this
domain? Which domain?
learn.xyz.
Okay. Yeah, sure. We can contact them.
I don't think it's under the GoDaddy. It's not really under GoDaddy control. The price, ICANN fixes the price on premium domains, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Does GoDaddy take does it take a percentage from that, or it charges, like, how does it make money when if I were to buy this right now, would it like in checkout also add an administration fee of $8, and that's how they make money?
Yeah, there's a fee that GoDaddy makes as for any domain agency out there. So just for a quick comparison, you can check on name.com or namecheap.com to see if to see which one's cheaper.
Oh, really? Okay, so you're saying that not more than 10% of the final price is actually the cut of the provider.
Yeah, I mean that's very minimalistic. The major portions of their making money comes from the resale of the domains. So for reselling some domains, they would have some agent in between, a GoDaddy agent who will negotiate the price with the original owner, and that's how they make a major chunk of the money.
Right, interesting. And also, I guess through auctions and stuff like that. So,
yes.
So you don't think it's the case? It's definitely not the case that GoDaddy actually owns that domain and that they're selling it to me, or do you think that could also be a small possibility?
That can always be a small possibility, but it's very rare that a domain registration agency will own some domains, unless it's like a dictionary word, and then they would be going for it. So mostly they would hold on to.
But then you can sort of contact GoDaddy and then contact with the actual owner of the domain, and then maybe the owner.
Yeah, but if the owner, if there is no owner, if it's just in the ICANN list of premium domains, so who gets the money? So ICANN gets the money. What do they do with it?
I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So you can probably compare between two to three different domain registration services to see which one's offering the lowest. Right, I usually don't use GoDaddy just because the entire DNS management pages, I find it a bit weird.
Right.
That way. I mostly use namecheap.com.
Right. Hey, but look what I just found. So one provider is telling me it's unavailable, and then if we find that all providers are saying it's unavailable, but GoDaddy saying it's available, well, then it might probably be the case that it's a dictionary word, so they booked it and now they're trying to resell it, right? Check it out.
Maybe.
But yeah, anyways, there's no cost in giving them a call at this number. I was just waiting for afternoon time so that I would fit in with their time zone.
Yeah, I would just give them a call and see what that entails.
Okay, sounds good. So I think the conclusion of this is that Nikita is going to be working on sort of a collaboration of Markdown, or at least text-based study plans under the name learn anything. And now we're going to be, at least for the moment, working on sort of categorizing resources according to metadata. But at the same time, we want to collaborate as much possible on the database layer. Ideally, share the same database, or we could even share user profiles, etc. And we're going to be doing it under a name that is TBD. So we have to decide that in the next few days. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thanks a lot for everybody joining the call. Thanks a lot for everybody on YouTube watching this call. And if you wish to take part in the community, let us know. We're open to anyone and everyone. See you later.
See you.
Okay, guys, I stop the